Penguin Random House Audio presents Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. Read for you by Julia Whelan. For my mom and my 3 grandmothers, life is complicated. Your love never was. 1. There's an old saying about stories and how there are always 3 versions of them. Yours, mine, and the truth. The guy who first said it worked in the film business, but it holds true for journalism too. We're not really supposed to take sides. We're supposed to deal in facts. Facts add up to truth. Fact: Robert Evans, producer, studio exec, and actor who coined that catchy mantra about the truth, was married 7 times. Fact: I, Alice Scott, staff writer for The Scratch, aspiring biographer, not much else, am not even officially the girlfriend of the man I've been dating for 7 months. Fact: At 5 feet and 9 inches tall, Robert Evans was the exact same height as I am. Fact: My entire life is quite possibly about to change, and instead of sprinting up the walkway to the quaint picket fence separating me from a lifelong dream, I'm sitting in my rental car, blasting air conditioning and reading the IMDb page of a man whose name I'd never heard 3 minutes ago because his quote about stories popped into my head and also because I'm stalling. I'm more excited than nervous, but there is still a great deal of nerves vibrating through me. With one last deep breath, I turn off the car and pop the door open. Immediately, the dense midday heat of a Georgia summer hits me from all sides, a familiar and deeply loved sensation that's only improved by the salty sea breeze sweeping in off the water surrounding Little Crescent Island. I double-check that I have my notebook, voice recorder, and pens, then bump the door shut and stoop to check my rapidly dampening bangs in the side mirror. I try to school my grin into an expression of neutrality. It's important that I play this cool. Fact: I have never played it cool in my life. I open the gate, my sandals slapping the stone walkway as I follow its curve around a wall of foliage, black needlerush and cabbage palm, prickly pear and glasswort, and, my favorite, live oak. 11 years in Los Angeles, but every time I see a Georgian live oak, I still think, home. A charming turquoise house on wooden stilts comes into view, and I climb a handful of worn wooden steps to reach its hot pink front door, every inch of which has been hand-painted with white swirls. I'm rewarded with a suitably eccentric doorbell. I mean, it looks like a normal doorbell, but when I hit it, it sounds like wind blowing through chimes. I'm still mid-preparatory breath when the door swings open and a short, gray-haired woman in a faded flannel shirt and jeans scowls out at me. "Hi," I stick my hand out. "I'm Alice Scott." She stares back, her eyes pale blue and hair cropped short. "With The Scratch?" I add, in case that jogs anything. She doesn't even blink. "I mean, not with The Scratch. I'm on staff there, but I'm here about the book?" Her expression remains placid. For a second, I'm forced to contemplate the possibility that all of this has been an elaborate ruse, perhaps orchestrated by this woman's middle-aged son, from his computer in her basement, where he spends his days shooting off emails and phone calls to gullible writers like me, pitching his voice upward and adding a light shake to pass himself off as a woman in her 80s. It wouldn't even be the first time. I clear my throat and refresh my smile. "I'm sorry. Are you Margaret?" She doesn't look like her, but then again, the last pictures I've seen of the woman I'm supposed to be meeting are easily 3 decades old, so for all I know, this could be the once glamorous, nearly legendary, at least to a certain subset of people, including me, Margaret Grace Ives, the tabloid princess. Known as such both because she was the heiress to the Ives media empire and because of those years when her own celebrity status earned her near-constant attention from the paparazzi and gossip columnists. The woman barks out a loud, genuine laugh and widens the door. "I'm Jody," she says, with the faint hint of an indeterminate accent. German, maybe. "Come on in." I step into the cool foyer, the smell of lemon and mint in the air. Jody doesn't pause or even slow for me, just marches straight into the house, leaving me to pull the door shut and bound after her. This place is beautiful, I chirp. It's hotter than hell, and Dracula has nothing on the mosquitoes, she says. I spare a thought for Robert Evans. Yours, mine, and the truth. At the end of one narrow hallway, she turns down another, the house an airy, bright labyrinth of whitewashed beadboard and sea-glass-colored accents, ending in a spacious sitting room whose walls are 70% window. You wait here, and I'll go grab Madame for you, Jody says, with a detectable edge of amusement in her voice. She unlocks one of the glass back doors and steps into the yard, a vaster and wilder garden than the front, with a small swimming pool set off to one side. I take the opportunity to make a slow lap around the room, still buzzing and smiling big enough that my jaw has started to ache. I set my things down on the low rattan coffee table and cross my arms to keep myself from touching anything as I wander. Art crowds every inch of the walls, and plants hang in clusters in front of the windows, still more in clay pots on the floor. A thatched fan twirls lazily overhead, and books, most of them about gardening and horticulture, sit in messy stacks and face down with cracked spines, covering every antique wooden surface available. It's beautiful. I'm already mentally drafting how I'd describe it. The only problem is, I'm still not convinced I'll have a reason to describe it. Because so far, there's nothing to indicate this is Margaret Ives's house. No photos of her illustrious family, no copies, old or new, of any of their dozens of magazines or newspapers, no framed illustrations of the opulent House of Ives where she'd been raised on the California coast, and none of her late husband's Grammys on the mantel either. Nothing concrete to link her to the now-collapsed media juggernaut or the joys and tragedies the Ives family's competing publications had so loved to catalog back when Margaret was still on top of the world. The door swings open again, and I spin to face Jody, working myself up to demand answers about who exactly invited me to do 11 hours of air travel plus 45 minutes in a rented Kia Rio for this meeting. But then I see the woman standing just inside. She's shrunk a few inches, gained some weight, much of it muscle, I'd guess, and her once jet-black hair is now a mix of mousy brown and silver. She's been scrubbed clear of any glamour or air of money and power, but that sly sparkle in her blue eyes is exactly the same as in every photograph I've seen of her. The elusive, unnameable something that had turned her from heiress to a newspaper fortune to princess of the cover page. Well, hello there. The warmth in Margaret's voice surprises me, just like it did during our few brief phone calls in the weeks leading up to this trip. You must be Alice. She shucks off her gardening gloves and tosses them across the arm of the nearest white rattan chair as she strides barefoot toward me, dusting her hands off on her caftan before stretching one out to shake mine. You're her, I say. Every eloquent or even serviceable sentence I've ever put together has been typed out slowly, over time. The ones that come directly from my mouth usually sound more like this. She laughs. I was under the impression that was the point. She gives my hand a little squeeze, then drops it and gestures for me to sit. No, it is. I lower myself to the couch. She takes the chair opposite me. I was just trying not to get my hopes up. It didn't work. Never does. But I keep trying. Really? She sounds amused. I tend to have the opposite problem. Can't help but expect the worst from people. She flashes a smile. It's both dazzling and sad. Sazzling. That, for example, would not make it to a typed and edited sentence. But the point is, I can see it hidden back beneath those sparkly irises of hers somewhere. The truth. The one we've never heard before. What it was like to be born into a world of silver spoons and golden platters, of actors drunkenly swimming fully clothed through your indoor pool, and politicians making handshake agreements across your antique dinner table. How it felt to fall in love with rock and roll royalty, and for him to love you back, wildly. And of course, about the other things. The scandal, the cult, the trial, the accident. And finally, 20 years ago, Margaret's disappearance. What happened?
Sample complete. Ready to continue?